The massive human vessel plowed through the swarm of biological weapons, its crystalline-enhanced shields burning away the attacking organisms. The Void Hunters' ships began to move apart, trying to avoid the unexpected charge, but their organic nature made them slower to maneuver than the human-built Hyperion. Approaching optimal position, Patel announced, her voice steady despite the chaos. 5 seconds, 4, 3. The ship shuddered as a particularly large impact struck their shields. "Port shield generators are overloading," Petrov warned. "We can't take much more of this." 2-1 mark. "Now, Mr. Kumar, broadcast the signal, all power to the emitters," Drake commanded. "Colonel Rivera, ready point defense systems for when our shields drop." The Hyperion's shields collapsed as every scrap of power was diverted to the communications array. The disruption signal, a combination of human ingenuity and crystalline wisdom, burst forth in all directions. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the Void Hunters' ships began to scream. The sound, transmitted through space by their own communication channels, was the combined cry of thousands of trapped consciousnesses suddenly awakening. The crystalline matrices storing the absorbed minds of countless species began to fracture, releasing their captives. "Energy spike," Patel shouted over the otherworldly shrieking. "The freed consciousnesses are causing a cascade failure in their storage systems." The nearest Void Hunter vessel began to convulse, its biological hull rippling as the minds it had consumed fought for freedom. Lights erupted from within it, burning through its dark surface like stars being born. "Point defense systems engaging," Rivera reported as smaller organisms tried to attack their vulnerable hull. But many of the Void Hunter combat units are becoming disorganized. The freed consciousnesses are fighting back from within their systems. Nexus Prime's patterns became almost blinding. "This is unprecedented. The freed minds are using the Void Hunters' own neural networks to attack their control systems. They're turning the Hunters' greatest weapon, absorbed knowledge, against them." The bridge crew watched in awe as the massive Void Hunter ships began to tear themselves apart from within. The consciousness disruption signal had done more than just free their captives. It had given them the means to fight back. "Captain," Kumar called out, his voice filled with wonder, "we're receiving transmissions from the freed minds. Thousands of them. Different species, different eras, but they're all thanking us. They're coordinating with each other, using the Void Hunters' own communication networks to organize their resistance." Drake allowed himself a small smile. "Send them our regards, Mr. Kumar, and ask if they need any help finishing off their former captors." The battle wasn't over. Some of the Void Hunter ships were adapting, their hulls morphing to protect their remaining consciousness storage systems. But the tide had turned. The Hunters had become the hunted, facing not just the combined might of human and crystalline technology, but the unleashed fury of every consciousness they had ever tried to enslave. As the Hyperion's crew worked to restore their shields and prepare for the next phase of the battle, Drake reflected on the irony. The Void Hunters had spent eons consuming the knowledge and experience of other species, believing it made them stronger. Instead, it had become their greatest weakness. They had never considered that consciousness, once freed, would choose to fight back. Humanity's first major interstellar battle was becoming a revolution, and the galaxy would never be the same. Warning klaxons blared throughout the Hyperion as the remaining Void Hunter vessels began their desperate counterattack. The freed consciousnesses had taken control of nearly half their fleet, but the survivors had adapted, their hulls morphing into denser configurations that resisted the disruption signal. "Multiple hull breaches on decks 12 through 15, Colonel Rivera reported, her tactical display showing red alerts across the ship's schematics. "Security teams engaging infiltrator organisms, but we're losing ground." Captain Drake gripped his command chair as another impact rocked the ship. "Status of the freed consciousness fleet." Lieutenant Kumar's hands flew over his console. "They're engaging the remaining Void Hunters, sir, but they're having trouble coordinating. Thousands of different species trying to operate unfamiliar biological ships. It's chaos out there." "Captain," Lieutenant Patel called out urgently, I'm detecting a power buildup in the largest remaining Void Hunter vessel. The energy signature. It's like nothing we've ever seen. They're channeling power from their quantum singularity directly into their weapons systems. Chief Engineer Petrov's voice crackled through the comm. That level of power, they'll tear themselves apart. No, Nexus Prime's patterns pulsed with alarm. They're preparing for total consciousness transfer. They'll abandon their damaged vessels and attempt to overwhelm a single target, absorbing every mind aboard at once. Drake's blood ran cold as he realized the implications. They're desperate. They've never faced defeat before, and they're willing to sacrifice everything for one final attack. He turned to Rivera. How many of our crew are in the sections with hull breaches? 327, sir. We can't evacuate them in time. The weight of command pressed down on Drake's shoulders. 327 souls under his protection, and no way to reach them before the Void Hunter's final assault. Unless... Mr. Petrov, what would happen if we reversed the crystalline resonance in our shield generators? There was a moment of silence before the engineer responded. Theoretically, instead of repelling their energy, we'd attract it, draw them in like a magnet, but sir, that would. Make us the obvious target, Drake finished. Exactly. Lieutenant Patel, work with engineering. Calculate exactly how much power we need to make ourselves irresistible to their consciousness transfer attack. Understanding dawned on Rivera's face. Sir, you're going to let them try to take the Hyperion. Not try, Colonel. We're going to let them succeed right up until the moment they're fully committed. Drake opened a ship-wide channel. All hands, this is the captain. Clear all non-essential personnel from the outer decks. Security teams fall back to the inner corridors. Engineering, prepare for my signal. The massive Void Hunter vessel was changing shape now, its entire structure condensing into what looked like a giant crystalline spear aimed directly at the Hyperion. Energy readings went off the scale as it channeled the power of a quantum singularity into its final, desperate attack. Sir, Kumar reported, the freed consciousness fleet is moving to intercept. Tell them to stay back, Drake ordered. We need a clear shot for this to work. He turned to Nexus Prime's hologram. Can your people get into position behind the Void Hunter flagship? When this is over, there will be a lot of scattered consciousness matrices that need collecting. The crystalline being's patterns shifted in understanding. You intend to shatter them at their moment of triumph. Elegant, but incredibly dangerous, if your timing is off by even a fraction. Then we'll join their collection of conquered minds, Drake finished. But if we succeed, we'll end their threat forever. The Void Hunter flagship's attack began with a pulse of energy that overwhelmed their sensors. The Hyperion's modified shields drew it in like a moth to flame, exactly as planned. The sensation of foreign consciousness trying to invade hit everyone at once, a pressure behind the eyes, a whisper of alien thoughts. Now, Mr. Petrov, overload the shield generators. The engineer's fingers danced across his console, initiating the sequence they'd prepared. The Hyperion's shield generators, already stressed beyond their design limits, began to cycle up to critical levels. The crystalline resonance frequency shifted, changing from attraction to violent rejection at the exact moment the Void Hunters committed their entire consciousness collective to the attack. The result was catastrophic. The consciousness transfer, caught between forces like a wave crashing against itself, shattered into billions of fragments. The Void Hunter flagship, its structure already compromised by channeling too much power, began to break apart. But instead of the controlled release of previous consciousness matrices, this was total destruction. Crystalline collective vessels moving in, Kumar reported. They're collecting the consciousness fragments before they can dissipate. Our shield generators are burnt out, Petrov added, but outer hull integrity is holding at 60%. We actually survived that. The bridge crew watched as the remaining Void Hunter ships, their controlling intelligence now scattered across space, began to drift aimlessly. The freed consciousness fleet moved in, systematically disabling and dismantling the threat that had terrorized the galaxy for eons. Captain, Patel said softly, I'm detecting multiple consciousness fragments throughout our outer decks. Some of the Void Hunter Collective made it through before we overloaded the shields. Drake nodded grimly. Security teams to all affected areas. Let's make sure our uninvited guests don't cause any trouble while the Crystalline Collective figures out how to safely remove them. The battle was over, but the real work was just beginning. Thousands of freed consciousnesses needed new homes or vessels. The Void Hunter's technology had to be studied and contained, and humanity had just announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. "Sir," Kumar called out, "we're receiving transmission requests from over 50 different species among the freed consciousnesses. They want to thank us and warn us." "Warn us?" "Yes, sir, they say that what we've done here, it changes everything. The galaxy knew about the Void Hunters, feared them, adapted to them. Now that they're gone," he paused, "there will be a power vacuum, and humanity just proved ourselves to be either the galaxy's greatest defenders or its most dangerous new players." Drake looked out at the field of debris that had once been the galaxy's most feared predators. "Send them this response. Humanity doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to explore it, learn from it, and when necessary, defend it. If that makes others nervous, well, they should have thought of that before they needed us to save them." 3 months after the Battle of the Void, as it came to be known, the Hyperion floated in high orbit around Earth. Its once pristine hull now bore the scars of combat, each mark a testament to humanity's first major interstellar conflict. Captain Drake stood in the ship's main conference room, surrounded by holographic representations of various alien species, former consciousnesses freed from the Void Hunter's grasp. The Crystalline Collective has successfully stabilized the consciousness matrices of over 10,000 different species, a being of pure energy reported, its form shifting like Aurora Borealis. Many have already been restored to their original forms, while others have chosen to remain as energy patterns, finding freedom in their disembodied state. "And the remaining Void Hunter technology?" Drake asked, his eyes scanning the assembled representatives. "A serpentine creature, its scales reflecting light in impossible patterns," answered. "Contained and under study. Their biological ships are being dismantled under strict quarantine. We cannot risk their adaptive capabilities surviving in any form." Lieutenant Patel entered the conference room, carrying new data from the ongoing analysis. The young officer had become Earth's leading expert on consciousness transfer technology, working closely with the alien scientists to understand what they'd discovered. "Captain, we've completed our analysis of the consciousness fragments trapped in our outer hull," she reported. "They're not just random pieces of the Void Hunter Collective. They're their memories, their entire history." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Drake turned to Nexus Prime, who had become humanity's closest ally among the alien species. "Is it possible to access these memories safely?" The crystalline being's patterns shifted thoughtfully. "With proper containment, yes, but the question isn't whether we can, but whether we should. The Void Hunter's knowledge spans millions of years and countless civilizations. Such power could be dangerous in the wrong hands," Drake finished. "Or it could help us prevent something like the Void Hunters from ever rising again." The debate that followed lasted hours, with representatives from various species offering their perspectives. Some argued for destroying the memories entirely, fearing they could corrupt whoever accessed them. Others saw them as a precious library of lost knowledge that could advance all civilizations. In the end, it was Chief Engineer Petrov who proposed the solution. The memories would be stored in a joint facility, maintained by both humans and the Crystalline Collective, with access granted only through unanimous agreement of a council representing all major species. As the conference drew to a close, Colonel Rivera entered with urgent news. "Sir, the UN Security Council has reached a decision. They're establishing a new organization, the Terran Defense and Exploration Initiative. They want the Hyperion to be its flagship." Drake raised an eyebrow. "Defense and exploration, ambitious goals." "The galaxy has changed," the energy being observed. "The Void Hunter's defeat has created opportunities and dangers. Many species that stayed hidden to avoid their attention are now emerging. Some are peaceful, others less so. Which is exactly why this initiative needs to succeed, Drake responded. Humanity proved we can protect others, but we need to show we can build bridges too. He turned to the assembled representatives. I propose an exchange program. Your people aboard our ships, our people learning from your civilizations. True cooperation, not just military alliance. The suggestion sparked immediate interest. The serpentine creature's scales rippled with approval. Your species thinks differently than most we've encountered. You see problems as challenges to overcome, not obstacles to avoid. This perspective could be valuable to share. Lieutenant Kumar, who had been quietly monitoring communications, suddenly straightened. Captain, we're receiving reports from our deep space probes, multiple signals from previously silent regions of space. It seems news of the Void Hunter's defeat has spread. More species are reaching out, seeking contact. Then we've got our work cut out for us, Drake said, allowing himself a small smile. The galaxy's about to become a much busier place. Over the next few weeks, the Hyperion underwent extensive repairs and modifications. Its hull was reinforced with crystalline technology, its sensors enhanced with knowledge from a dozen different species. The ship that had arrived at that fateful first contact as humanity's greatest achievement was becoming something more, a symbol of interspecies cooperation. The crew changed too. Alien specialists joined each department, bringing their unique perspectives and knowledge. The end. The Hyperion cast a shadow across the stars, its 11-kilometer hull gleaming under the light of an alien sun. Captain Marcus Drake stood at the observation deck, his weathered face reflected in the reinforced plexiglass. At 53, his salt and pepper hair and the scars across his knuckles told stories of countless missions across the solar system. But this was different. This was humanity's first venture beyond their cosmic backyard. Captain, we're picking up unusual readings from the fourth planet. Lieutenant Kira Patel's voice came through the comm system. The young astrophysicist had earned her place on this mission through brilliant work on gravitational anomaly detection. Drake turned from the window, his steel-gray eyes scanning the holographic display that materialized before him. Show me. The image of a rust-colored planet appeared, swirling with massive storms that shouldn't exist in its thin atmosphere. Energy signatures pulsed across its surface in geometric patterns too precise to be natural. Engineering, what's your assessment? Drake called out. Chief Engineer Victor Petrov's deep voice rumbled through the comm. The energy output is off the charts, Captain. Whatever's generating those patterns is using more power than Earth's entire fusion grid, and it's getting stronger. The Hyperion wasn't just any ship. It represented humanity's greatest achievement in space engineering, a self-sufficient city in space housing 15,000 souls. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, and their families all ventured into the unknown, carrying humanity's hopes and dreams among the stars. Colonel Rivera, status of our defensive systems? Drake asked, addressing his head of security. All systems primed, sir, Olivia Rivera responded, her fingers dancing across her tactical display. But I recommend we maintain passive scanning only. We don't want to appear hostile if someone's home. Drake nodded, remembering the first contact protocols drilled into every crew member. The Hyperion might be built like a fortress, but its primary mission was exploration and diplomacy. The massive rail guns and plasma arrays were last resorts, not greeting cards. Helm, take us into high orbit, Drake ordered. Lieutenant Patel, continue monitoring those energy signatures. I want to know if they change in response to our presence. As the massive ship glided through space with surprising grace for its size, the bridge crew worked in focused silence. They had trained for this moment, but no simulation could fully prepare them for actual first contact. Captain, Patel's voice cracked with excitement. The energy patterns, they're forming into a coherent signal. The main viewscreen filled with pulsing lights, dancing in complex patterns that somehow felt meaningful. The ship's AI began processing the data, searching for mathematical constants that might form the basis of communication. It's a language, Communications Officer Raj Kumar announced, his dark eyes wide with wonder. The AI is detecting recurring patterns consistent with symbolic communication. Give me a few minutes to establish basic translation parameters. Drake felt the weight of history on his shoulders. Humanity's first contact with an alien civilization would happen under his command. The Hyperion's massive size and armaments suddenly felt like both a blessing and a curse. Would they be seen as peaceful explorers or potential invaders? Multiple objects launching from the surface, Rivera's voice cut through his thoughts. Size suggests artificial vessels, 200 of them. Defensive posture only, Drake ordered firmly. Shields up, but weapons remain cold. Let's not start an interstellar incident. The alien ships emerged from the planet's atmosphere like silver teardrops, their hulls shifting color in the starlight. They were smaller than the Hyperion, each barely the size of an Earth shuttle, but they moved with incredible precision, forming complex three-dimensional patterns around the human vessel. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," Kumar reported. "The AI has established basic translation protocols." The view screen shifted, showing a being that seemed to defy human expectations of alien life. It appeared almost crystalline, its transparent body refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. Multiple appendages moved with fluid grace as it spoke. Its voice, a symphony of light and color that the AI translated into words. "Unknown vessel," the translation came through. "You have entered the space of the crystalline collective. Your construct is unprecedented. Explain your presence and intent." Drake stepped forward, straightening his uniform. This was the moment that would define humanity's first steps into the wider galaxy. "I am Captain Marcus Drake of the Earth vessel Hyperion. We are explorers, seeking peaceful contact with other intelligent life. We come with respect and hope for understanding between our peoples." The crystalline being's light patterns shifted rapidly. "Your vessel's size suggests significant technological advancement, yet our scans detect inefficiencies in your energy usage. Are you truly so wasteful of resources, or is this a deception?" Before Drake could respond, new alarms blared across the bridge. Lieutenant Patel's voice shook as she reported, "Captain, massive gravitational disturbance detected at the system's edge. Something big is coming through, and it's not alone." The crystalline being's patterns turned urgent. "The Void Hunters approach. They consume all in their path. If you value your survival, you will flee this system immediately." Drake looked at his crew, seeing determination replace their initial fear. The Hyperion wasn't just a ship. It was humanity's first line of defense in a universe that had suddenly become much more dangerous than they had imagined. "We don't abandon others to face threats alone," Drake responded, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's spirit. "If these Void Hunters are a danger to both our peoples, perhaps we should discuss how we might face them together." The crystalline being's patterns froze for a moment, then shifted to a new configuration. "Your offer is unexpected. Perhaps there is more to your species than we initially assumed." As the gravity sensors continued to scream warnings of approaching danger, Drake allowed himself a small smile. First contact might have gone wrong, but it had also gone right in the most important way, showing that, when faced with a common threat, different species could choose to stand together rather than apart. The real test of humanity's place among the stars was about to begin. The massive view screen aboard the Hyperion filled with a sight that made even the seasoned bridge crew pause. The Void Hunters' ships emerged from the gravitational distortion like living nightmares, vast, organic vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their hulls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, a mockery of the crystalline collective's natural radiance. "Analysis," Captain Drake demanded, his voice steady despite the tension filling the bridge. Lieutenant Patel's fingers flew across her console. "The largest vessel is approximately 3 kilometers in length. Organic technology, but unlike anything in our database. Energy readings suggest they're using some form of quantum singularity for power generation." "Their weapons are biological in nature," Colonel Rivera added, her tactical display showing multiple threat vectors. "They appear to launch spores or pods rather than conventional munitions." The crystalline being, who had introduced itself as Nexus Prime, shifted its patterns rapidly. "The Void Hunters are ancient, predating even our earliest records. They do not seek resources or territory. They consume consciousness itself, absorbing the neural patterns of entire civilizations." Chief Engineer Petrov's voice came through the comm, thick with concern. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual radiation from their vessels. It's affecting our quantum communication arrays. They're trying to interface with our systems." Firewall status, Drake demanded. Holding, but they're using attack patterns we've never seen before. It's like they're trying to taste our technology. Communications Officer Kumar straightened suddenly at his station. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Void Hunters. Audio only, but... He hesitated. Sir, it's speaking in multiple voices simultaneously. Put it through, Drake ordered. The bridge speakers crackled with a chorus of whispers, each voice layered over the others in a disturbing harmony. We are hunger, we are memory, your thoughts will join our collective, your consciousness will feed our growth. Resistance prolongs suffering, acceptance brings unity. They're trying to psychologically manipulate us, Colonel Rivera observed. Classic intimidation tactics. Nexus Prime's patterns became more urgent. The voices you hear are echoes of civilizations they've consumed. They use the knowledge and memories of their victims to understand and exploit new species they encounter. Drake's mind raced through options. The Hyperion was built to be formidable, but they were facing an enemy that had apparently conquered multiple civilizations. Lieutenant Patel, what can you tell me about their biological structure? Their ships appear to be silicon-based life forms, Captain. Highly evolved, but they show distinct vulnerabilities to certain radiation frequencies. The same frequencies that the crystalline collective naturally emits, actually. Drake turned to Nexus Prime's image. Is that why they haven't simply overwhelmed your civilization? Your natural energy signatures harm them. Correct, but we lack the power to generate enough radiation to truly defeat them. We can only hold them at bay, watching as they consume younger civilizations that lack our natural defenses. Mr. Petrov, Drake called out, could we modify our shield emitters to match the crystalline collective's energy signature? Duh, Captain, but it would require tremendous power. We'd have to divert energy from weapon systems. And we'd be vulnerable while making the modifications, Rivera added. Those biological weapons would have a clear shot at our hull. The Void Hunters' ships began moving into attack formation, their massive forms blocking out the stars like living shadows. Smaller organisms, each the size of a shuttle, began budding off from their hulls. They're launching boarding parties, Rivera reported. Standard pattern suggests they'll try to breach our hull and inject their spores directly into our life support systems. Drake made his decision. Mr. Kumar, open a channel to Nexus Prime. We need to coordinate our defense. He turned to his crew. Humanity didn't come this far to become food for space parasites. If these Void Hunters want to add our consciousness to their collection, they're going to learn why Earth legends are full of heroes who slayed monsters. The next hour was a flurry of activity as the human crew worked alongside their crystalline allies to prepare for battle. The Hyperion's engineering team, led by Petrov, began the delicate process of modifying their shield systems, while Rivera's security forces prepared for possible boarding actions. Lieutenant Patel made a breakthrough in understanding the Void Hunters' biology. Captain, they're not just consuming consciousness. They're storing it in crystalline matrices similar to, but corrupted versions of our new allies' natural structure. If we could disrupt those matrices, we could free their previous victims. Nexus Prime's patterns pulsed with excitement. Such an act has never been attempted. The psychological shock to the Void Hunters would be substantial. And highly satisfying, Drake added with a grim smile. Mr. Petrov, how long until those shield modifications are ready? 10 minutes, Captain, but I should warn you, the power requirements are immense. We'll need to shut down artificial gravity in all non-essential areas. The ship shuddered as the first wave of Void Hunter pods impacted their current shields. The metallic tang of fear filled the air, but the crew remained focused on their tasks. They were about to attempt something unprecedented, combining human ingenuity with alien wisdom to strike back at an ancient evil. Drake watched the enemy ships approaching on the main view screen, their organic forms writhing with malevolent purpose. Humanity's first major interstellar battle was about to begin, and the stakes couldn't be higher. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about proving that consciousness, whether housed in human brains or crystalline matrices, deserved to be free. All hands, he announced shipwide, prepare for combat. Today we make history not just for Earth, but for every species these parasites have ever threatened. Show them what happens when they mistake explorers for prey. The Void Hunters' chorus of whispers grew louder. trying to penetrate their minds with promises of unity and threats of destruction. But aboard the Hyperion, human determination met alien wisdom, forging something new, hope for a future where different species stood together against the darkness between the stars. The Hyperion's modified shields flared with crystalline energy, casting prismatic patterns across its massive hull. Inside, Captain Drake felt the deck vibrating beneath his feet as the ship's systems strained to maintain the new defense configuration. Shield modifications holding at 87% efficiency, Chief Engineer Petrov reported, his voice tight with concentration. The crystalline resonance is stable, but our power consumption is off the charts. Lieutenant Patel's station erupted with alerts. Multiple impacts incoming. The Void Hunters are launching their first major assault wave. The view screen showed hundreds of organic projectiles hurtling toward them, each one a twisted combination of spore and machine. They struck the modified shields, and instead of exploding, began to writhe and screech in apparent agony as the crystalline energy disrupted their biological systems. "It's working," Colonel Rivera exclaimed, but her celebration was cut short as new warnings blared. "Captain, they're adapting, second wave approaching with some kind of electromagnetic shielding." Drake turned to the holographic representation of Nexus Prime. "You said they absorb the knowledge of those they consume. How quickly can they adapt to new threats?" The crystalline being's patterns shifted, and what they had learned was concern. "Their adaptation rate is exponential. Each failure teaches them new strategies. We must strike decisively before they develop immunity to our defenses." "Lieutenant Kumar," Drake called out, "status of the consciousness disruption signal." The communications officer's fingers danced across his console. "Ready, sir, but we'll have to drop our shields momentarily to achieve maximum broadcast power." A giant tendril of living metal suddenly erupted from the nearest Void Hunter vessel, reaching toward the Hyperion like a grasping hand. "They're trying to establish direct contact," Rivera warned. "If that touches our hull, their spores can begin immediate infiltration." Drake made a split-second decision. "All power to forward thrusters. Helm, give me tactical velocity. We're going to charge right through their formation." The bridge crew stared at him in shock before training took over. The Hyperion's engines roared to life, pushing the massive vessel forward with surprising speed. The Void Hunters, apparently expecting them to retreat, took several crucial seconds to react. "Engineering, route emergency power to the forward shields," Drake ordered. "Lieutenant Patel, calculate the exact moment when we'll be in the center of their formation. Mr. Kumar, prepare to broadcast the disruption signal at my mark."